Hey there, this is Dr. Hugh, and this is a recording of a webinar. I did a live webinar on long COVID. Now, if you're suffering from long COVID, there are tons and tons of little gems that you can apply to your lifestyle as soon as you listen to the webinar. So I suggest that you listen to the whole entire webinar. Down below, you're going to see all my slides. And very importantly, you're going to see down below that there's an opportunity for you to schedule a Zoom call where it says keep it simple. If you click that button, that's going to take you to my scheduler, and you and I can schedule a Zoom call. I have people all over the world. If you're suffering from long COVID, you're going to need someone in your corner to figure out your metabolic soup, your metabolic mess that's happening, to figure it out. Recovering from long COVID, it's not as simple as take this supplement, take this supplement, take this drug. You need a comprehensive, individualized, custom-tailored program to meet your needs. And this is what I specialize in. So down below, we'll give you a lot of great content and a thorough understanding of why you're suffering and what you can do about it. But please, if you're suffering, take out the time, schedule a Zoom call. Let's jump on a call. And if I can help you, I'll let you know. And if I don't think I can help you, I'll let you know on that call as well. So enjoy the webinar. Take care. This is Dr. Hugh. All right, great. All right, so welcome. So this is the COVID-19 webinar. And this is what I call the triple threat approach. Can you see my screen too? Yes, if you can see my screen. So you should be able to see my face, and then you should be able to see my screen. Yes. Okay, cool. All right. So for those of here that this is my website, obviously. Got a lot of great content down there. We're going to be going through, if you click this button right here, that's going to kind of bring up the lecture notes. And this is what I'm going to be walking through here is these notes. Now, before I go through that, I just want to kind of go over these couple pictures right here, just to give you an understanding of, kind of like my background, that kind of thing. If you have questions, you can type in the box if you have a question, because here's what I know after doing these webinars is when people ask questions, either verbally or type in the question, there's a lot more value that's given, because then I can go off on like people's questions and answer people's questions. So I hope to get this done within an hour, and the more questions we have, greater. I'll stay longer, but really it all comes down to how many questions we have. Excuse me, let me get some water. So at any time, feel free to type in your questions. So I kind of want to go over these two pictures right here, and just so you understand my background, why I'm here, what kind of education I have. Oh, excuse me. So it all basically started here with my dad over here on the right. My dad actually, he actually died in the medical system. So he was 69 years old. You can see right here, he's not very healthy. He was 69 years old. He was on 14 medications every single day of his life. And one day, he died now, but he passed away probably, I think, about 13 or 14 years ago. I just remember the call. It was a beautiful Thursday afternoon. I was cutting the grass, and I get the call, and my dad had a stroke. And basically 3 days later, we pulled the trachea, and that he actually ended up dying, right? So here's what I know with 100% certainty is what really killed my dad is the system. Not that he didn't go to doctors that weren't caring. It was just a system that caused my dad's death. There's no one in the system that said, hey, Weg, do this, do A, B, C, and D to recover your health. It was always, here's another drug and so forth. And he just took that path. And then here on the left, this is a picture of me. Obviously, this is a long time ago. My first name being Hugh. They called me Huge. In high school, I see my dad sick and suffering. And I went up to the Boundary Waters when I was going into 10th grade. And within a matter of basically 3 days, I lost 10 pounds, came back to the cities here or back home. And then with a matter of basically 8 months, I had lost 80 pounds. So ever since then, I've just been on a quest to help as many people as possible, just through my own experiences. Now, as far as my background goes, I'm actually a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 25 years now. I've been doing functional medicine, which we'll be getting into the workshop, for about 15 years. So what really got me into doing functional medicine is people were coming in my practice, and I had a really busy, successful practice. I had practice with 2 other colleagues. We saw like 400 people a week chiropractically, and I just started going into more of this functional medicine when people were coming in with thyroid problems, and they're asking me a bunch of things about thyroid. So I just started going on this whole education on functional medicine, and here I am today. I sold my practice 3 years ago, and I strictly just help people through telemedicine all over the world, actually, at this point. So if you click this button, you're going to have access to this here. These are the notes, and they are really quite extensive. I put a lot of time into developing these notes here, and I think the notes are phenomenal. The content that I'm going to go through here is really, really powerful if you apply it. So the first part of the lecture is just going to be going over and making sure that you understand like what's happening to your body, why the virus is there, and why it's really so detrimental to people. Now, one thing I would like to ask in the question box is, how long have you been suffering with long COVID symptoms? So if you can just check that in the boxes so I can kind of get an idea of, how long you've been suffering. And what would be good too is how long you've been suffering and what's your worst problem that you could deal with, because we do have kind of an intimate group here today. So maybe I can cater some content here to your specific needs. So this right here is a graph on long COVID, and you can see basically the definition of long COVID is anything over 14 weeks. So, over 12 weeks. So you got a 4-month period, anything over 4 months. If you're still suffering with symptoms, that would classify you as being, having long COVID. Now, there are 4 things that I'm going to address here in the webinar, and there's 4 things that we know pretty much with 100% certainty based on the research. One is if you're suffering from long COVID, that you probably have some kind of underlying autoimmune disease, and that autoimmune disease could have started with COVID, or it could have maybe it was there and it got exacerbated with COVID. So this autoimmune component is, you have to really look at your individual case. And if you have an autoimmune disease, you got to kind of handle that. Okay, so one person said since 2020, mostly bursts of anger and fatigue. Okay, 30 years on and off, Epstein-Barr virus and Lyme. So co-infections as well. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is, well, I shouldn't say the first thing. These are the things that we know for sure. Is you have an autoimmune disease, or a high probability that you have an autoimmune disease. The second thing is that you have the COVID-19 has caused some kind of tissue destruction in your body. The third thing is that you have endothelial damage, which is very, very dangerous. That's basically the delivery of your blood cells, red blood cells. There's 60,000, check this out, there's 60,000 miles of endothelium in your body. So we're talking about a massive amount of damage that can be done to a system that delivers blood to every oxygen, to every tissue in your body. And then finally here, there's mitochondria damage. Now, mitochondria damage, here I got a picture of it. So check this out. So here, the research tells us is that each mitochondria in your cell, so in one cell, you have between 500 and 2,000 mitochondria. That's insane. 500 to 2,000 mitochondria, now depending on where that cell is. So for example, like your heart cell has a lot more mitochondria than, let's say, like your liver cell. I mean, your heart is a lot more active, so it needs a lot more mitochondria. So we know with 100% certainty that long haulers have damage to your mitochondria. Now, back in the day, I'm 50, your mitochondria is for ATP and energy. Like that was the whole thing, ATP and energy, which is true. But ATP, the mitochondria does like 1,000 times more things than just produces energy. It actually does tons of intercellular communication. It has a huge involvement with your immune system. It has huge involvement with your hormones. So there's a lot of things that mitochondria actually do. It's just not a simple thing, oh, it produces energy. Yes, it does do that, but there's 1,000 times more things that it does as well. Now, right here, what this is just a picture. I really learn from pictures. So a lot of my content is going to be all pictorial. So what I have right here is, this is a neuron. So this is one neuron. And then you can see this thing right in here, these little things right here. These are actually the mitochondria. So there's the cell nucleus and there's the mitochondria. Now, again, there's between 500 and 2,000 mitochondria per cell. Now, they're neurons. Your nervous system, that has a high concentration of mitochondria because the neuronal tissue is really highly active. So one of the things that I try and do throughout the whole lectures is, just so you know, is I try and research actually stats and actually research papers of all the different things that's going on with COVID. Since COVID-19, I mean, there's been a huge amounts of research on this. So I've put in research articles just so you understand, like, it's not like my opinion. There's actually research articles. This is actually fact on what's actually occurring right here. So this is a pretty crazy study here. It says that 45% of people have some kind of long COVID symptoms. 45% after 4 months. So almost 50% of the people that got COVID have some kind of residual problem. Now, here's the biggest symptoms: is we have fatigue, muscle aches, depression, brain fog, and shortness of breath. So these are the most common symptoms. These are the ones we're going to be kind of going after here. Now, one of the things here, I want to go over this mechanism of action because this is really significant. And again, this is all research. So the mechanism of action of the stats is that you have a persistent viral load. So one of the things here is people put Epstein-Barr virus and Lyme disease. So once you get one virus, Lyme, you may have other viruses in your body, and then there's a thing called a viral load. So what does that mean? That it just adds up. So your body can handle one virus, but now if you get 10 viruses, the load that your immune system has to handle is too much. So then it starts to break down, and this is when you get all these persistent problems. So that's what it means by viral load. You can have immunological disruption, just means your nervous system, your immune system's not working correctly. This is important. Tissue and organ damage, like we talked about. And then finally here, there's a lot of other ones here, but I just hitting the highlights. And then microvascular blood clotting. So all of these things here can be caused of, can contribute to the persistent symptoms. So when we look at getting a recovery protocol, you always want to start with the low-hanging fruit. One of the things, my approach when it comes to functional medicine, is you're always starting with the low-hanging fruit. You never start high. You always start with the low-hanging fruit. So the protocols that I laid out here deal with the low-hanging fruit, and then you can start doing other things besides the whole low-hanging fruit. But you don't want to miss the low-hanging fruit. This is kind of like what health looks like. So we have a baseline, right? And then we get the infection right here. Your health goes down, and then you recover. So this would be a normal nervous system. This is what you want to have: active infection. You get sick, and then you recover. Now, really, what happens here? There's kind of like 5 different. There's 5 different ways that your health can go. Like this is the baseline. So everyone sees that as a baseline. So then you get the infection, and these are the things that can happen, right? These lines kind of show what are the possibilities of you getting sick. So down here, this number 2, maybe you dip down and you start to recover, but you never recover fully. Or this top one is you slowly had gotten worse, and now you're kind of on a plateau. Or number 3 here is by each day, each week, each month, they're slowly going down. So this is where you're going to have to take a polytherapy approach. This is what I call, it's a polytherapy approach. In order for you to get better right now, you need a polytherapy approach. There's not one supplement, there's not one exercise, there's not one drug that's going to get you better. This is where, when you take a functional medicine approach with my clients, I'm actually looking at how many different things can we apply to this person's case, maybe 5, 6, 7 different things that you can apply very slightly. They don't need to be grand slams. We're looking for single bases. If you can get 5, 6, 7 single bases when it comes to your health to move the needle, you're going to get better. Now, one of the things that my philosophy of healing is that God created us, and He created us to be healthy, and He put the most amazing healing power in our body to get well. So if you're sick and you're not recovering from long COVID, whatever it is, that's just telling you that there's something hindering that ability to get well. So really what I'm really good at is doing an investigation, figuring out where you're not healing and functioning, and then trying to support your God-given physiology to allow your body to function at a higher state. And when this occurs, this is when you're just going to get better. And then we have, state number 4 here. You can see this kind of ups and downs, and then number 5. So all of these are different variables that people can go through when it comes to recovery, or I should say really not recovering. So this slide right here is probably going to be the most technical. So if you can just stay with me, if you can understand this next slide here, and then I'm going to go into pictures, you'll have a really full grasp of what's happening. And I think a lot of this stuff is really confusing unless you have someone take you through the steps so you can physically see what's happening. So when it says SARS right here, this is just referring to COVID-19. Now, what happens is we have these things called ACE2 like receptors in our body. Now, this is the most complex thing you're going to have to learn, but this is very, very important for you to understand. So before I go over this whole paper right here, so this is a paper. And if you ever want to click the link here, you just click this link. We're going to leave this here. And then you can see here that it will actually take you to the paper right here. But what I want to bring your attention to here is what exactly is this ACE2 receptor. So let me go over that right here. So this is I like this picture right here. So we're just going to be addressing this picture. So you see this little green thing right here? You see that right there, that little like dish satellite thing. Remember back in the day, like in the 90s and the 80s, like everyone had the big dish, right? So this is the ACE2 receptor, this green thing. Now, these receptors are the dish. They're all over your body. They're in every tissue. They're in your nose, your tongue, your heart, your lungs, your colon. These ACE receptors are there's a plethora of these things all over your body, in every single organ in your body, including your brain. Now, this is what makes this COVID-19 so dangerous. Now, in here, I'm just going to change the color. Actually, I'm going to draw this. Can everyone see this right here? That thing is the spike, right? That's COVID-19. You see these little spikes right here, right? So we have this ACE receptor, the big satellite dish from the 80s, and this satellite dish is all over all organs in your entire body, right? There's receptors for everything. Like there's a testosterone receptor, there's an insulin receptor on certain tissues in your body, but these ACE receptors are all over, basically 100, all over your cells, including your eyeballs, including inside your eyes. Now, what this spike protein does, and you can see this little key right in here, because I'm going to be using this analogy. So the virus attaches, and the virus attaches to the big satellite. This is the thing that's so detrimental with COVID-19, is it specifically attacks the ACE2 receptors, the big satellite dishes, and those satellite dishes are all over all your organs in your entire body. So that's very dangerous. Why? Because now you have a virus that's literally can attach and attack receptors that are all over your entire body. And there's really been no virus that does that to this extent. Now, what happens here? So this right here, so you can see how it's kind of, the picture is of the tissue right here. So this is a picture of the tissue. It's expanded, right? So theoretically, this part right here would be like in your blood, and then this right here would be the tissue, and this is the ACE receptor. This whole COVID-19 attaches onto the big satellite dish, and then you see this like little squiggly thing right in there. That's the virus, and then it inserts it, right? So you see it right here. It inserts it into your cells, and then from there, when it's inserted into the cell, it causes havoc into the cell, and then the cell doesn't function properly. So this, at the end of the day, this is the whole mechanism. This is why people are having damage, because we have ACE receptors all over the body. The COVID-19 is highly attracted and can attach to and can attach to the ACE receptor. It spits in its little viral code, and then it starts to cause a whole bunch of havoc in your body right here. So I just try to make an analogy. I think if I can give analogies, it makes sense to people. So right here, this would be the organ, right? So that's this part right in here. So the organ is the padlock, and then the spike protein is the key. So the key goes in here, it inserts there, and then it unlocks the tissue. And when it unlocks the tissue, that little brown little thing, that's the virus right there. It gets in the cell. The cell, it starts taking over the cell and start doing a whole bunch of bad things to the cell. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, just type your questions in the chat box. Now, again, this is just another visual. So one of the things is a lot of people have brain fog. Now, this is just another visual. So this is your brain right in here. And these little things are the ACE receptors. So you can just see the ACE receptors right there, the big satellite dishes. And then the COVID-19, COVID-19, however you want to say it, COVID-19 SARS attaches on into these little receptors. And the viral load goes in your brain, and bam, now you have a problem. Now, I like this graph right here because this will kind of tell you, if you look right in here, so this is what again, SARS-CoV-19 is just a 19, right? So if it gets in your brain, you're going to have cognitive problems. It gets into your oral sinuses. It gets into your heart, in your lungs, in your pancreas. So you can have a whole bunch of very specific disease processes based on where the COVID-19 is attaching. And usually it will go to your weak link. Now, I had COVID twice. I got it the first time. I had it for 3 weeks. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be over this in like 3 days. And 3 weeks later, I'm still suffering with it. And then I got it a second time, and that was fairly quick. I got over that within about 3 or 4 days. All right. Here's another research article that just says multi-organ damage right here. So multiple organ damage in COVID-19. And, that's what it's happened. My husband was sick for 3 months. Yeah, for sure. I can understand. So one of the things too, it goes to your muscles, right? So people can have chronic fatigue. They can have fibromyalgia. They can have, pain all over because the ACE receptors are actually everywhere in your entire body. Now, remember, if I scroll up to these 4 things that we know with certainty right here, is these things right here. This is where we're going to be touching these things. So you can see why when you have COVID-19 or long hauler, why this is so devastating. Now, simply put, you have these ACE receptors that are all over your body and every single tissue in your body. And COVID-19 is very, very effective at attaching to that, inserting its viral load, its little viral envelope, they call it here, and causing damage to the cell not to function properly. It's really that simple, right? So here's another, I love these visuals here. So this is the vasculature. One of the major ACE2, right, the satellite expressions of cells includes vascular endothelial cells. So here's what happens is over here, let me blow this up because this is a great picture. You're going to see this. So this is this right here, that's a capillary. It's literally one red blood cell thick. Like this is how big this stuff is. You see how there's the red blood cell? It's literally one cell. Now you can see these pores right here, these little dots right there. That's normal breathing of your capillary. There's small little holes in your capillaries. Now here's what happens is when your endothelium gets damaged. Look at the big massive holes in there, right? You can see the big holes in there. Let me just see this right in here. This is like leaking. There's gaps, like large fenestrations, which just means it's like a fence now. It can get in there, it can leak in there, it can cause inflammation. And this is, this just really causes significant problems. Same thing here with your blood-brain barrier. A lot of people don't actually realize this, but your blood-brain barrier between your blood and your brain is only 1 cell thick. That's it, 1 cell. That's the same thing with your gut. Between your gut and your blood, it's 1 cell thick. So this right here is 1 cell thick. This layer is 1 cell thick. So when it comes to these blood-brain barrier, when it comes to the gut barrier, it's literally 1 cell thick, right? And if COVID-19 attaches to that vasculature, which there's research showing that it clearly does, it causes this kind of vasculature, which is leaking. Does that make sense? Just give me a comment in the comments if that makes sense. Just hit yes, I'm tracking and it makes sense. Would be greatly appreciated. Now, also too, what the research is also showing too, yes, okay, great, is, let me just move this down just a tad, is potential mechanisms for persistent symptoms after infection. So we know when you have an infection, you have systemic inflammation activated. So you got the virus, it didn't go away. You're in a chronic state of inflammation. Every disease known to mankind grows in a body that's inflamed. Now, if you already have a pre-existing condition, meaning this, if you already had, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're 60 years old and you have some degeneration, you have some arthritis, guess what? It's going to go to your joints, and now your joints are going to be stiff. Maybe you had some concussions, a concussion from 20 years ago, a concussion from 30 years ago. You had some impact to your brain where you think, well, I've never had a concussion. I've never been knocked out. We're not talking that. We're talking maybe you were in a motor vehicle accident and you flung your head and you got whiplash and your back of your head hit the back of the seat. Maybe you fell in some ice and hit your head. Some kind of trauma. It doesn't need to be like where you're knocked out cold when we talk about concussions. It's just simply any kind of micro trauma over a period of time can make your brain more susceptible to the COVID-19 getting in there and causing damage. Maybe you already had some pre-existing organ condition, or maybe you already had some low-grade autoimmune disease that you didn't know about, and now it got exacerbated. Most of my clients come to me and they have an autoimmune disease and they had no idea. Just to give you an idea, these are stats. Roughly, there's these stats are about, I don't know, maybe 8 years old. Roughly in the United States, autoimmune disease costs about $100 billion. 100 billion, where cancer costs 50. Right. So a lot of people don't realize a lot of people have an autoimmune disease, and for some reason, the autoimmune disease affects more women than men. But when it comes to the dollars costing, what things cost just in the United States, autoimmune disease is double the amount. So this can cause autoimmune disease in your body. Here's just another pictorial. You have an infection, and you had a pre-existing condition. So now you have joint pain and swelling. You have some kind of brain problem. It's called, now just a fancy word with it just says that you have prime glia, which is basically your immune system in your brain. Then you have brain fog, depression, and cognitive decline. It goes to your gut. Now you have bloating, abdominal discomfort, wheezing, nasal congestion. So it hits all these different tissues. Now, the research is also showing here that in fact, that when a COVID-19 will actually cause persistent positive ANA at 12 months post-COVID are associated with persistent symptoms. So what is ANA? This right here is an autoimmune marker. It's a very simple test. It costs literally $5 to get this test, but it's an autoimmune marker. If you click this link down in here, this goes to my website, and this will explain to you what an ANA marker is. But basically, it's telling you when people have this long hauler COVID, they have a positive ANA, which is an autoimmune marker. Now, it might be hard for you to see right here, but what is an ANA testing, right? So what is that actually test when it comes to autoimmune disease? In the red here, it says it's called anti-nuclear because it targets the nucleus in your cells. So when you have when you are suffering from long COVID, what this is actually doing to autoimmune disease, let me go up to another graph here. The autoimmune disease is actually attacking and can cause this right here to attack your nucleus right in there. I mean, imagine that you have an autoimmune disease and that autoimmune disease is positive and it actually attacks your nucleus. Well, what percent of your cells have a nucleus? Every single cell has a nucleus except your red blood cells. So this is where you're going to have global autoimmune disease. So if you want to click more about that ANA later, you can go to my website and you can do more research on the test ANA test. Okay, so let's go over to some solutions here, because really, to be honest with you, there's a lot of solutions to getting better. So the first one is blood sugar control. So this is a must. Every single client that comes to me, we do this protocol, every single one, because this is something that I call a low-hanging fruit. Again, we never want to miss low-hanging fruits. You can go and do, you can take the most expensive supplements, you can get the most expensive IVs. I've seen people do very, 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 very expensive things. I've seen people go and spend $30,000, come to me, and none of the basic fundamental functional medicine principles were in. So this is number one, blood sugar control. So just let me go over a couple of research articles just so you can see, like, this is legit. Like, this is actually research articles. This just came out this year in May 2023. It says increase insulin resistance, right? So that's what we'll be talking about, poor blood sugar control. Increased insulin resistance due to long COVID is associated with depressive symptoms and partially predicted by inflammatory response during acute infection. So what is this telling you? This is telling you that if you are a long hauler, you probably have sugar dysregulation, which is causing systemic inflammation. And not only does it cause depression, depression is a brain inflammation problem. It's not a serotonin deficiency. It's not an antidepressant deficiency. It's actually a neuroinflammation problem. So you need to address the neuroinflammation. Now, if you have poor sugar control, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have if you have poor sugar control, you're going to have neuroinflammation. So this paper says, in conclusion, right? So this IR right here just means insulin resistance. So long COVID is associated with a new, guess what? New onset of IR, which means insulin resistance, which means you have poor sugar control, which may contribute to onset of depressive symptoms due to long COVID by enhancing overall neurotoxicity. Like, that's crazy, right? So what does this mean? Again, that if you have poor sugar control, you have that causes neurotoxicity to your nervous system. And, your nervous system controls everything in your entire body. This is just another research article basically stating the same thing. Okay, so this is where we're going to get into the protocols right here. So we're going to want to download these things. There's going to be, I'll send out a recording of this because there's going to be a lot of content here. We're getting into the protocols right now. Let me take a drink. Okay. So how do you know if you have an abnormal glucose response? And it's really actually quite simple. So you can see this. I'm going to blow this up right here. You can see this right here. This says normal. Okay, now you're going to want to take a note. So if you have a piece of paper out there, you're going to want to take this note because there's some incorrect information. I just haven't had a chance to change this. So you want your blood sugar to between 85 and 120. This is critical, with or without food. So let me just state that again. You want your blood sugar to be between 85 and 120 with or without food. Now, if you went to the doctor and you got a fasting glucose, like that's a standard test. You go you give some blood, or you go and get some blood work, and they do a fasting glucose, and it's fine. That's not enough information to determine if you have this problem. Like the most unreliable marker to see if you have any sugar dysregulation is measuring it once a year when you go to the doctor fasting. That doesn't even count. It's not even a reliable marker. So we need more data. So the protocol is this, and the protocols in these are the links to my website. Is we want to see this normal glucose between 85 and 120. So this should say that. Now, every time you see this little dot right here, this is someone that has checked their sugar levels. Now, you can see here on this graph, it falls within the normal of 85 and 120. Now, why is that significant? Because remember we talked about mitochondrial damage is your cells, and your cells need energy, and glucose is a fuel for energy for the mitochondria. So when you have this sweet spot of 80, 85 to 120, your mitochondria are getting consistent glucose or fuel supply. So this is critical. This is what you want to see right in here. Let me clear this here. Okay, so this is normal. Then right here, so this is what we're going to be calling this is going to be a hypoglycemic condition. Now, I see this all day long. This is very, very, very common. Again, 85 to 120, right? You check your finger, you're between 85 and 120. You check it, you're borderline, boom, now you're low. Now you're low, now you're good. Now you're too high, now you're too low, now you're too low, now you're too low. This is a very common pattern. If you have this pattern, you are not going to recover. Let me say that again. If you have this pattern, you are not going to recover. This is how critical this is. This is a low-hanging fruit. Like, I've been doing functional medicine for 15 years. To come up with these protocols has taken a massive amount of time, research, and basically just working on cases, right? Just trial and error. And finally, you figure these things out. Okay, so that's a hypoglycemic pattern. And then down here, which probably most people have a mixed pattern. You probably have too high and too low. So in this pattern right here, you can see, let me get my pen. You can see they're starting out high, 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 and then they're in the good range, and then low, and then too high. So all these things here are going to cause problems and make sure that your mitochondria are not functioning properly. So let me go over the protocol. This is a protocol. This is something that you can literally go out to Walgreens right after this webinar, and you can get this and you can start doing this tonight. So this is the exact protocol that I use with what percent of my clients? 100%. 100% I do this on. All right. So the protocol is this. You wake up, you check your blood sugar. Before you eat, you check your blood sugar. 30 minutes after, you check your blood sugar when you eat. 1 hour after, 2 hours after, and then right after you eat. Now you're probably thinking, damn, I got to check a lot. Yep, you got to check a lot. You only do it for 5 days. In 5 days, 6, 7 days, you're going to know if this is a problem. Right. So once you have the data, and if in fact this is a problem, then you've just found a mechanism, a physiological mechanism that is affecting your God-given healing ability to function and recover from COVID, to recover from Lyme disease, whatever it is, Epstein-Barr virus, fibromyalgia, whatever it is. You've just found and discovered a mechanism. And if you're on this webinar, there's probably almost 100% certainty that every person that's on this webinar right now has some kind of sugar dysregulation. That's what I've seen. That's what I can say clinically with a fairly high degree of confidence, because I've helped enough sick people get well. I mean, it's that simple. So right here, boom, you go to Amazon, you just go to the website, you click it, there it is. It's, how much is this? It's currently unavailable. So they're out of stock. Just getting something similar to this. This says 33,000 reviews. I think it's about $30, right? It's very, very inexpensive. It's very inexpensive. Okay, so that is the protocol. I'm just kind of curious, has anyone checked their blood sugar and it's been high? You can just put that in the comments right there. Okay, let's scroll down because there's some more protocols when it just comes to blood sugar. All right, here we go. So we're going to hit that. And what I want to kind of go over here is, so how I created my content is there's a video. So you can watch a video on it, right? You can hear the audio. That's the audio on it. And then I put visuals on it. So what would be some indicators that you actually have some sugar dysregulation? And the fancy word is called dysglycemia. It just means, sugar dysregulation. So dysglycemia is a fancy word for saying poor sugar. So if you get fatigue, if you get insomnia, mood swings, anxiety, depression, hair thinning, impaired ability to lose weight, those are classic signs that you have some kind of sugar dysregulation. Okay, so this is a great question by Terry. This is why you want to answer. You want to give questions in here because there are going to be clinical gems that I'll give you guys because it just comes out, right? Because someone asks the questions. Okay, so this is a really common question, and this is a very clinically thing that I see is that you wake up in the early morning. Well, what happens when you wake up in the early morning is you've dropped down to a hypoglycemic state. So if you don't have enough sugar, it's going to wake you up in the middle of the night. Like if your blood sugar falls too low, your body sees that and like, OMG, I need to make some sugar. And then it releases these hormones to break down sugar. And those hormones are norepinephrine and epinephrine. And those are the hormones are like, I'm scared, I got to run away from the tiger. So those wake you up. So, you have to really, really work hard at making sure that your blood sugar is consistent the whole entire day while you're awake, and that you're storing these reserves, glycogen in your liver. And there's a whole bunch of different things that can be done with that. But that's why I shouldn't say that is a possibility on why you're waking up, because your blood sugar is dropping too low. So a little hack would be that you could just eat a snack before you go to bed, a protein or a fat, no carbs, a protein or a fat. And, that can really help people out that have that dysglycemic pattern. So right in here's a pattern of a hypoglycemia. This is a classic sign that you have a hypoglycemic pattern. And here is that when you eat, you get energy after meals. So if you eat food and you're like, hey, I feel better, that's a classic sign that you're hypoglycemia. So Terry, does that happen to you when you eat something, do you feel better? So this is a classic sign. So here's another kind of broad stroke kind of thing that you can take to the bank is the only thing that should change when you eat food is your hunger pains. That is it. So if you get something else, if you get more energy, if you get less energy, if you get tired, if you get jittery, if you get bloating, if you get gas, if you get some kind of other problem, then hey, I feel the same. I have the same energy, but my hunger pain is gone. That's going to indicate that you have some kind of sugar dysregulation problem on top of probably some kind of bad gut. If you get some kind of bloating problems. Okay, so we have hypoglycemia, and then insulin resistance or too much sugar. Then we have right in here, we have this right here is if you have when you eat is you have fatigue after a meal. So that would be a sign that you have too much. Okay, so Terry says, I eat a small amount of oatmeal. Okay, oatmeal. I eat a small amount of oatmeal or something, a banana. Yes, feel better after eating. I try to focus on protein and vegetables to stabilize. Yeah. Okay. So you really got to work throughout the whole entire day to make sure this is stable. With 100% certainty, if you do this home test, you're gonna find out some really probably things that will shock you when it comes to your glucose levels, and that would be hindering your body's ability to definitely heal and function. So here's just kind of a cool graph. You see here on the left is hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia. And either pattern, guess what? It decreases your ATP production, and that's in your mitochondria, and you have between 500 and 2,000 per cell. Okay. And then I have one more link when it comes to insulin. So you're going to want to study this, and in a second, I'm going to be showing you some labs as well. So this is a great graphic. Again, I love the graphics because people can learn by graphics. Let me get my pen. So you see right here, it might be hard for you to see, but this is insulin. You see that? That's insulin right there. So this is an arrow. Insulin is going up. And then we have three things. We have carbohydrates, we have proteins, we have fats. So you can see right here, this is a carbohydrate. So what happens is your insulin goes way up. Insulin is a pro-inflammatory hormone. So if you're eating a lot of carb-based foods or things that just increase your sugar, if your sugar goes up, your insulin goes up. That's just how God designed it. So if your sugar goes up, your insulin goes up. It goes hand in hand. So if your sugar goes up and your insulin goes up, you're in a state of inflammation, right? So now if you're a long hauler, you don't want that, because that's just causing more problems. We're trying to decrease. I'm going to take off my vest here. We're trying to decrease any inflammatory process from happening in your body. So this is a really good visual that I think that you can see, like the different impacts that what you're eating will have on your body. Okay, this is cool. I want to go over this case right here. All right, so this right here, these are just some labs. I'm not trying to make you a lab expert by any means, but I want to go over this case here. I'm just going to show you the labs. So one of the things when it comes to labs is labs are like a fishing net. So the bigger your fishing net is, you throw a big fishing net out, you reel it in, and then you can see what you caught. Now, the conventional system doesn't do any of this stuff. Like the conventional system is a complete failure for anything that's besides acute care. Like if you cut off your arm, go to the conventional system, you're going to get better. If you have long COVID, you're not going to get better in the system. Point blank, that's just the facts. So this is some blood work that I ran, and these are this guy right here. Right here, you can see this guy right here is 51-year-old male. So I kept that content in. Now I'm just going to show you what we found on him, which is astonishing. Some of this is kind of goofy when it got this O2 here, just so it's just kind of, I don't know what happened with the conversion. So just to give you an idea of what we're checking for. So this guy, you see this white blood cell count right here is 9.9. That's bad. It should be around 5. This right here, you see the range there? He's on the upper range. Like that's not good. Like that's telling me that he has long COVID. He has chronic inflammation. There's something going on in his body that's causing his white blood cells to be 9.9. That's where you kind of have to investigate and figure out what's actually happening here. Here, his sugars are, this is fasting in the morning. Fasting in the morning should be less than 100. So he has a sugar problem. Down here, he had no idea. Look at this is a hemoglobin A1C. This is the check to see if you're diabetic. Boom, boom. 7.9 here. You can see right here. He's a diabetic. Had no idea. No idea that he was a diabetic, was never a diabetic before. He gets long COVID, feels like, crap, is looking for answers. He has sugar problems, right? So his body is really inflamed and massively inflamed. We're not even at the tip of the problems when it comes to these labs. So when you look at the stuff, then you have to take approach. Well, what are you going to do first? Well, obviously we got to fix his sugar problem. His testosterone, he's 51. So he's the same age as me. I'm 50, right? So testosterone is 130. Mine's 900. I'm 50. I have a testosterone of 900. Look at that. No testosterone. This is a marker right here for basically poor sugar control. That's high. Check out his vitamin D. His vitamin D is 16. You see the range there between 30 and 100? He's at 16. He's burning through all his nutrients. Now, when it comes to conventional system, if this marker comes back at 31, they're going to tell you you're what? 100% fine. That's a lie. 80. You want to see this vitamin D is around 80. That's the sweet spot. That's where a healthy, normal human beings live. D-dimer, I have this test on my website. When people get long COVID, D-dimer is high. That's a clotting factor. Guess what? Bing, bing, bing. We found it in his blood. He has thick blood. I mean, he's a nightmare. But when I say he's a nightmare, he is a nightmare, but now we have a path. This is the path for him to get better. Like we've discovered all these different things where he had no idea what was going on. C-reactive protein, this is an inflammatory marker. It's 12. You want to see this less than 1. He's at huge risk for cardiovascular disease. One of the things I went over, the top 4, one of the things was endothelial damage. Well, he has massive amounts of that. Homocysteine, this is another marker for inflammation. That's off the charts. The SED rate right here is 41. That's an inflammation marker. Your blood is thick, another blood marker. And guess what? This right here, we checked his thyroid. He has antibodies against his thyroid. Boing, bing, ding, ding, ding. He has an autoimmune disease. If you have one autoimmune disease, you probably have 3 or 4 other autoimmune diseases in your body that you had no clue about. So what did we just find in this guy? We found a bunch of causes and reasons why he feels like CRAP. No one checked it. The conventional system's not checked it. No doctors are checking it. They have no tools to do that. Then check this out. This insulin here is 31. It should be 5. You see this marker? You see the range? The range here is ridiculous. It's basically 2.6 to 24. You want this to be 5 to 6. He's at 31. So we found a really extensive path for him to go on. So what's the number one priority? The number one priority is to start to stabilize his blood sugar, and you work on that. That could take 4 weeks. It could take 6 weeks. It could take eight weeks. But I can tell you this, like his brain fog, his brain fatigue, his muscle stiffness, his fibromyalgia is not going to get better until we start to normalize some of the blood sugar imbalances in his body. That's for sure. So in the comments, was that helpful to go through those labs? Kind of just give me a yes or thumbs up if you thought that was useful to go through that. Yes. Okay, great. Thanks, Terry. And iPhone said yes too. All right. Okay, I want to cover this right here. If you're out there suffering and you're looking for some help. So some of the purpose of me doing these webinars is, hey, I want to help people. And at the end of the day, if what I tell you makes sense and you're looking for some help, I want to give you an opportunity to schedule a Zoom call, and we can have a conversation and see if I can help you. So it's simple. I keep things very simple. You click this button right here. We keep it simple. You schedule a discovery call. Come down here. You can click some of these dates right here. And these are times that I have available. You just click it right here. See this appointment? It says 10 a.m. You just click this button right here, and then it takes you to registering for a call. So once you get the call, you register for the call. You're going to fill out some paperwork, and then we can get on a phone call and actually determine what's going on and how you can get better. Here's what I know with 100% certainty. Going back to the blood work, that fella right there was not going to get better. Point blank, there's no way he could navigate his system. This is what's allowing people to get better, is this discovery call and see if it can help or not. So that's really what my purpose out here is. If you're here on this call, you're looking for some help. If you're spending some time listening to someone on a webinar, right? You need some help. You need some guided help. I'm just a guide. Like I'm just the orchestra. I'm just a conductor, right? I'm the conductor trying to figure out all these moving pieces. Instead of putting spaghetti on a wall, I'm here in your corner. Let's do step 1. Let's do step 2. Let's do step 3. Let's do step 4. Let's take this supplement. Let's do this. Let's change these diets. And you're going to get better with a guided approach. Okay. Yep. Just did all those twice. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, Holly. Yes, I just did all those twice. Okay. So if you're looking for some help, real simple. I keep it simple. Click that button and schedule a call. All right. So this is number 2 protocol is a methylene blue. Has anyone heard of methylene blue? Has anyone tried methylene blue? You can put your comment into the section there. So methylene blue, I think it's kind of funny, how the powers, the higher powers, how they kind of pigeon-toe things, or they put things into a corner. Like ivermectin, for example. I'll be going over some examples of that. I mean, ivermectin has helped lots and lots of people, and it's very, very safe. But what happened during the COVID era is the pharmaceutical companies didn't want to have anything competing, and they made ivermectin out to be the bad guy, which is 100% completely false, and there's lawsuits on that. I'll be just going over that. This is the same thing with methylene blue. Is you can get this on the product, you can get this on Amazon. There's a lot of false data out there about it where it's very, very powerful. So what I want to show you right here I'm just going to click this button right here. So this is going to take you to a website called PubMed. Now, PubMed is where all the research articles are listed. If you do a research article, you publish it on PubMed. So this is a global database for people that want to geek out like myself to check out research articles. And on methylene blue, it has 25,847 research articles. Yes, 25,000 research articles on methylene blue. It is very safe and it's very effective. This is a paper that just came out in November right there. You can see that November of last year, 2022. And I'm just going to click this button right here just so you can see this. So this is all my markings right here. You can see this paper. This is on, so let me just read this. It's on methylene blue and red light therapy, which the fancy name is called photobiomodulation. I'll be covering that in a second. Photobiomodulation, that's a fancy word for red light therapy. You can get these on Amazon. So this is a research article on methylene blue and red light therapy, right? Simple stuff that you can do and buy, no problem. But what I want you to show you is this research. Like this is a long article. I geeked out on it. It's a long article. They go into it. But the most important thing, what I want you to show you this is when they do this research here, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. So this right here is the references. You can start with the references. You see this? So we got 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages, 6 pages of references on methylene blue. Like this stuff is well researched. And guess what? Guess what the research showed? It's a shocker. And okay, it shows, I know for some reason it's not highlighting. Okay, our results indicate that protocols may be safe and promising approach to challenging COVID-19 cases. So the research shows that in quote tough cases, they're going to use something that's been around for over 100 years that's safe and effective, methylene blue and photobiomodulation. I just wanted to show you this because there's actually lawsuits on this right here. This is what the FDA did to scare people. Their scare tactics about methylene blue. This was about ivermectin. It said, you are not a horse. You are not a cow. Seriously, y'all, stop it. And there were medical boards going after providers and taking their medical licenses away for prescribing ivermectin during COVID, all in the name of human suffering, which is a crime. You can look at this right here. Doctors have sued the FDA, and they've actually winning in court that they overstepped their guidance by their scare tactics and basically their false propaganda. Now, the reason why I make this comparison is because people are afraid of methylene blue for some reason. And I think the reason is because it's cheap, no one makes money, and it's effective. Like that's the worst thing people want, the pharmaceuticals company wants in the United States. Something that's effective, something that's readily available, and something that's cheap. No one wants that. No company wants that product. Okay. So here's the interesting thing here. So methylene blue and near infrared light protect mitochondria and neural tissue. So we have the cell right here. So methylene blue and red light therapy protect the neurons. Now, one of the things is I would just want to show you this real quickly. So red light. Okay, let me just go to Amazon so you understand what I'm showing you here. So here's red light. I'm going to go. This is going to take you to Amazon. There's a whole wide spectrum of red lights that you can buy, right? So some of them are very inexpensive, and some of them are more expensive because they have like motors that penetrate light. I have one like this right here. That's very large. Mine's like 3 feet long, and it has motors in the back. So it has the high penetration if it has a motor, the penetration of the red light is deeper. But I've had clients that have gotten these things and have gotten these cheaper ones here and have gotten receive benefits, right? From just like a $50 or $100 red light therapy. So I'm going to do this here. And this is going to be kind of interesting, I think. So everyone has, I'm going to show you my flashlight here. Everyone here has put a flashlight up to their hand, right? And you've been able to see that. Okay, I'm just going to try and demonstrate this. Okay, so everyone look at that. Now, when I was a kid, now I didn't realize this until I started doing research on red light therapy. My fingers are what color? My fingers are red, right? Why aren't they blue? Like when it comes to the light spectrum, there's yellow light in here, there's blue light in here, there's when it comes to the color, there's green light. Like this whole thing is a spectrum of light. There's many, many colors, but yet only when I put this on my hand here, you can see if I would let me do this actually. Okay, my fingers are tight. You see that? It's red. Why is it red? It's red because in this light right here, within this flashlight, there is red light therapy. So what you're actually seeing when you put a light up on your hand and you see your hand being red, that is actually this part right here. That's actually the red light beam going through your tissues. Like it penetrates deep in your tissues. And just like this, I'm going to blow this up here. That's your mitochondria. Just like here, the light goes to your mitochondria and it creates energy in your freaking mitochondria. Like it's crazy. It's like photosynthesis for plants. You know, the sun comes down and the sun beats on the plant and the plant grows. Why? Because it's photosynthesis. The plant has mechanisms designed by God that allow the plant to take the sunlight and convert sunlight into energy. And when that's converted to energy, it grows a plant, whatever that plant is. If it's corn, it grows corn. That's the same thing in our bodies. We actually have photosynthesis. It's not called photosynthesis. The name escapes my brain right now. There's some other fancy name for it when it comes to in human bodies, but it's photosynthesis basically in the human body. So if you have all these mitochondria, right, and the red light therapy is impacting the mitochondria. Let me just really be really clear on that. Red light therapy affects the mitochondria. So when you sit in front of the red light therapy, your mitochondria are getting bombarded with red light. It is charging. Here's a good visual. It's charging your cells, which is your mitochondria, to full power, right? So here you have a poor mitochondria, and here you have a nice, healthy mitochondria, right? So that's photobiomodulation red light therapy. So that's what that's doing. Now, in here, let me show you one more link here to my website. Let me see if that's it. Okay, yeah, so if you click this methylene blue, that's going to take you to my website. Now on my website, I have a video on this here. But also I show you where to buy. Oh, right here, buy on Amazon. So this is the product that I get right here. That's methylene blue. It has 1,000 reviews on it. I also have this packet. I haven't opened up this. There's some methylene blue too. So I try and mess around with different products as well. I'm going to go to my YouTube station real quick. Okay, so methylene blue for UTIs, but here it is. I just want to show you this video. So there you go. It's just a solution. You just put a few drops in there and you just drink it. It's really that simple. And then in here, so this right here is this is the protocol. You can go back and look at that, but really simply, it's like you take 10 drops and you put it in some water and you drink it. I mean, it's really super simple. So this is a good Terry. You got a good questions. You can use a PEMF mat for sure. I have no problem against that. Yeah, I don't have one. I think they're good, but I do have a nice red light therapy unit. Yeah. Okay. Last protocol. I'm gonna be going over a little bit here. If you have any questions, type questions in. This is my last protocol, and this is going to be significant. What I found clinically is I got this because I help a lot of people that are hurt by antibiotics. There's a lot of antibiotic damage out there, and I help a lot of people that have been hurt by antibiotics. And a lot of these people can't move, they can't exercise. People that have long COVID are fatigued and can't exercise. We need to get you moving. You need to move, right? It's really simple. So this is a chi machine. And this has been a game changer too for my clients. So this machine down here, you see this down in here. You kind of you can pick these. You can pick this up used on Marketplace or wherever for like 60, 70 bucks. But you put your legs in here, and your legs kind of go back and forth, right? So if you're sick, if you're fatigued, and you can't exercise, that's only going to cause your long COVID symptoms to get worse because you need to exercise. Exercise is life. Exercise is what stimulates your mitochondria. It Exercise will grow your mitochondria. Exercise will actually eliminate your weak, sick mitochondria. So check this out. When you exercise, you put your body under stress, right? So when your body's under stress, the weak mitochondria will actually they actually get absorbed by healthy mitochondria. So if you don't put your mitochondria under stress, these really sick mitochondria, they just kind of sit around and they use resources. I mean, I don't really know how to put it. They're using because they use resources. They use valuable proteins. They use valuable elements, but they're sick and they really don't do anything, right? So it's like it's like someone. It's like a really lazy person that doesn't want to do. I don't want to use lazy. That's not a good. That's not a good analogy. They're just sick and they sit there and they use resources where the healthy mitochondria don't get those resources, right? So if you exercise, these weak mitochondria will actually be absorbed. The healthy ones will actually absorb them, take the mitochondria and absorb it and start to use nutrients better. So, back pain, insomnia, shoulder pain, a lot of things here can help by this chi machine. Oh, I got a bad link there. Okay, let me just here chi. I'm going to show you my website here. Okay, so the chi machine. So this is just kind of a blow up. You kind of just it moves you back and forth. Now these are the stats on this. This is pretty incredible in here. Is when using a chi machine, for every minute your feet go back 144 times, right? That's a lot. That's really causing this motion, which causes blood flow, which causes lymph flow deep into the tissue. So this is like artificially exercising. And I can tell you, this has been an ultimate game changer because I work with people that are bedridden. I work with people that are in wheelchairs because they've been hurt so bad with antibiotics that it's destroyed them. But we have to get some kind of exercise going because that's going to relax muscles. Oh, Terry has a chi machine and she loves it. Increases energy flow, the lymph flow, the blood flow. This will get things going. I have like people that are on walkers. Yeah, Are people? I'm sorry, my computer went crazy. Are people with me? Are people with me? All right. Yes. Okay. It's been kind of heavy on my computer here to do all this stuff, but I think I got it fixed here. Okay, we're up and running. All right, we're almost done here. I want to go through these last couple of things here. Okay, where are we here? Okay, cool. Everyone can see my computer? All right. So anyway, I'm just showing you this right here because this is on eBay. You don't need a fancy one, like $64, $70, right? Just get yourself a Chi machine, and that will help you out hugely. Really simple to do. Okay. All right, then I think we only have a couple more slides here. So this right here, so we went over a couple very specific protocols, right? And these protocols work. They're low-hanging fruits. I'd imagine most people here have not done these, and they could definitely help you. Now, when you look at more of a comprehensive plan, like when people, are doing like guided plans, you're looking at as many things as you can and trying to move the needle on as many things as possible. So you have micronutrients, macronutrients, you have the microbiome, right? If you have any gas, bloating, anything at all, that's a problem. Could be hormone problem, could be toxicity. You could be suffering from mold. Like let's say you have mold in your body, if you've been exposed to mold and then you get COVID, you can't recover. That's really a really common thing that I see very, very often. Or when it comes to the gut, is before getting COVID, is you had some gut problems, maybe some gas, bloating, whatever it was, and now that's worse. And 80 to 90% of your immune system is actually in your gut. So that's where that's at. Okay, that was my last slide. So here again, you can schedule a call, a Zoom call, and get some guided help. I'm going to open it up here. I'm going to, ask you to unmute, and then you're more than welcome to ask a question or type in a question here. And oh wow, we got quite a few people here. Okay, so I don't know if I can do a mass unmute here or not, but I think I've unmuted people. Chat, let me just go in. Oh, here. Okay. So I think most people are unmuted. If I've unmuted you, if anybody wants to ask any questions, that would be great for the group, because this is where a lot of the gems will come in, is by asking questions. Yeah, you can find, someone says here, you can find a Chi machine on Marketplace. Yep, you certainly can. Yeah.
Excuse me, this is Terry. I'm in the
Yeah.
Chicago area. First of all, thank you for your well-researched information. I really appreciate you sharing that. I
Yeah.
actually listed a number of questions there in the chat, so there were things that I was wondering about. And just to let you know, my background, I internationally trained, and I'm working toward my ND degree, but I've got many other modalities that I'm specialized in.
Okay, cool.
I'm totally on the same page you are with the things that you're bringing out. And the one of the questions I ask, with the blood type diet, do you delve into that at all to just kind of keep people's pH or their blood where it's not so thick? Because you mentioned about the thick blood.
Well,
And
I
so,
don't go into, I guess if your question is, I don't go into like, the blood type diet. I don't do anything like that. But yeah, diet's a huge thing for sure. It really depends on where people are at. Like some people, I'll have people do a ketogenic diet. Some people I have them do a paleo diet. Sometimes I'll have people do an autoimmune paleo diet. Sometimes I'll have people just do gluten free. So excuse me, that really comes down to like getting into the case and seeing what people can handle, what they've tried, how significant their problems are.
okay. And you also mentioned a product, you said it was drops. I can't think of the name.
Yeah,
Blue
that's
something.
on, yeah, methylene blue. That's the drops on Amazon.
Okay, I have never heard of that before. You mentioned it numerous times, but like, what is it for? Maybe you explain it and I missed that.
Well, methylene blue, it actually specifically helps the mitochondria and the electron transport chain. It helps complex 1, 2, and 3. I mean, I'm getting kind of geeky, but it helps the mitochondria, and the mitochondria has different mechanisms in there, and the methylene blue actually makes these mechanisms more efficient. And so if these mechanisms in the mitochondria aren't functioning, it will cause the mitochondria to function at a higher level.
Okay, so is it kind of like basically, if I could explain it, tell me if this is right or wrong. Is it like basically recharging the batteries, like you were
Yes.
showing the visual of that? Okay,
Mhm. Yeah.
because I have a PEMF and I'm
Yeah.
a supplier of that, and that's how it's been explained to me utilizing that. And I can tell a big difference with that because I actually had COVID 4 times. And just letting you know my background, my husband works in emergency medicine here in Chicago. So he just was seeing a high number of COVID patients. And
Yeah.
I had the blessing of getting it 4 times.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But in the blood test, it shows that I was low on zinc and low on
Mm.
a couple of other things. So no wonder I was
Yeah.
getting it.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so here's the other question I have because I've listened to several of these webinars from other functional medicine doctors here in the Chicago area, and that was a question I have. And sometimes after listening to them and then doing the intro offer that they have, sometimes it's a really big, not manageable program that they offer.
Hmm.
I say not manageable. Sometimes it starts out not manageable financially,
Hmm.
even. And so, but I do appreciate what you're doing, what you're sharing, and it's obviously you know your stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I just could you delve into that a little bit more,
Sure.
what to expect
Yep.
after?
Yep. So let me handle that right up front. So this is how I operate is like if people do labs, I just what I charge for labs, what the labs cost me is what I charge the client, right? So, for example, that panel that you just saw that I went through with all that blood work, that's $400. Like that's my cost. That's what I charge a client. I take a picture of the cost and I put it in the patient's file and they see it and all that stuff. So my plans can run anywhere from $900 to $2,000. That's my plan. It's plans, right? So these plans can last 3 months, they can last 6 months. That's kind of the ballpark figures.
And then do you ever like delve into other modalities like using herbalism or essential oils or flower essence, or do you use any electronic diagnostics like Imago, Zyto, anything like that?
No, no, because I'm virtual. I do have people do like basic things at home. Like, I have people check their blood sugar, their blood pressure. I check like an O2 meter that you can get on your finger for $30 on Amazon. So there's some home diagnostic things that I want to make sure people do so we get that data. But I don't do because I'm all virtual, right? So I don't do these different testing kind of things.
Oh, okay. Because I'm asking because I'm a Zyto practitioner and you can do that with someone, even
Virtual.
virtual. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why I was asking that. Let's see. And I was trying to think if there was any other questions. If there's anything else you want to share, I have used the Chi machine. You mentioned that, and I really did like it.
Yeah.
Right now, I am using the PMF. I got the travel one, so I didn't get the one with the infrared. But a lot of the national and international indies I train under, they use it and they just rave about it. It's
Yeah, I
just
think it's great. I've used one. I've just never purchased one. I just bought a nice red light therapy, a nice big one here. So yeah, there's a lot of therapies that I think are good.
mhm. Right, right. Okay. And was there anything else that you can think of that you could share with us? I really
Well,
appreciate your time.
yeah, you're
Okay.
welcome. These are the critical things that people should start with. Like these are basic havable things that people can do. And these, especially the glucose things, the glucose needs to be figured out.
Mhm. Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, just on an average client that after you do things, I mean, what is kind of like your basic, program? Like, say they'll do the $400 in medical test. I mean, blood work.
Hmm.
Um, then what's the next step?
So these are packages, right? So these things will last like 5 months, let's say. All right. So I'll write up a program. We'll get the program out. They'll go get blood work. Before you get blood work, there's things just on a call that I can figure out that we need to do right away. So I call it like homework. So there's homework that needs to be done. You probably start some basic supplements. Then we get the blood work back, and then maybe in 20 days we have a call. So between the first call and the second call is we need to get all your blood work done. You got to do the homework kind of things. You have to start some basic protocols and then on that second call, then we can start the game plan. So the purpose of the calls are to game plan the strategy moving forward. And then, between phone calls, like if you can email me and those kind of things. So it's I don't have getting sick people well isn't like a like let's do step one. It's not like it's not like a solid structured thing, right? Some people need more, some people need less, and you just kind of like are just like the conductor as you walk through their experience and what that particular client needs at that particular time.
Right. It's highly customized and individualized.
Yes,
I totally get
yes,
that.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
right.
when you use the supplements, are there particular companies that you use? I know some people are isogenic, some people Nature Sunshine, some
Yeah.
people Desk Bio. I mean, what?
I don't have, it's not like I have a line or anything like that. Like I've crafted products that I like because I've used them and I know them and I have experience with them. So I don't have one line. Like I use a variety of different things from a bunch of different lines because that's what's worked.
Right. So you use more result oriented type products. So it's not like a particular line or anything. I
No,
get that.
gosh, no. No, I don't do any of that stuff. No.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for answering my questions. I really appreciate it. Just to let you know my background, I've worked for many, many doctors here in Chicago and nationwide, and I've actually here in Chicago put a lot of them on TV. And my last story just went national. And
Oh well.
so I really like to, hear what other people talk about and offer. And I really am very impressed with you. I just wanted to mention that.
Well, thank
Obviously,
you. I
you're
appreciate that.
very, very well researched, and you present it beautifully. And I want to thank you for doing that and for your time.
Thank you, Terry. That means a lot to me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions here? You can do verbal or you can type. Questions is where gems come from. We have a question here. COVID awake my pillar. COVID awake my, I'm not sure, ITP, low platelets, two really 600, 6,000. How do you treat people that protocols can make my platelets go low? Your platelets are higher or low? I'm confused on that. Low. Oh, your platelets are low. Okay. I mean, you have to have more than these are tough questions, right? My platelets are low. What is it? I mean, what else is low? I mean, do you have gut problems? Do you have bloating? Do you have gas? Are like your white blood cells low? Are your red blood cells low? I mean, that can indicate that there's some bone marrow things happening, like where platelets are actually at. Maybe you're exposed to like mold. And mold, I have.
Oh, no.
I've
Well,
had people that have mold that have low platelets. So
well,
if
the
you could give me
problem,
some more data
yes,
than that.
yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Are you talking to me?
Yes, yes.
We got some we got some feedback there, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he's talking to someone else.
No, I was
I know
talking to you. I was actually. I'm sorry for the feedback. I was sitting next to my wife. She's trying to type, and it wasn't muted as well at the same time.
Yeah.
She.
Who am I speaking to? What's your name, sir?
My name is Dan. My wife is Pilar, and she has an issue with platelets where her body is constantly attacking her platelets. She's on steroids for a very, very long time. And every time that she tries to wean out of the steroids, her platelets collapse. So she had COVID twice, and last time that she had COVID, her platelets went down to 5,000.
5,000.
Yeah, 5,000 platelets. That was the result of the blood test. So she was put on very high steroids to bring her platelets back up. So that was able to happen, and about 2 months later, she did not feel well. It was not COVID, or apparently it was not COVID. And she was hospitalized with, again, 5,000 platelets. So and basically, her body is attacking her platelets over and over and over and over again. So every time that she builds some platelets and tries to win out of the steroids, her platelets diminish again. So basically, that's the case that she is in.
Does she have other autoimmune diseases diagnosed?
She's got ITP, and that's the autoimmune that she has diagnosed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she also has Hashimoto disease.
Oh, there you go. I mean, so yeah, she's got multiple diseases. So, yeah, I mean, so this is a classic case, right? So,
yeah,
one of the four pillars is autoimmune disease. Like her body is ridden with autoimmune disease. So, the first thing you have to go in there is you gotta, what can you do to reduce the autoimmune disease? Like that's like the number one thing. Like, what's her vitamin D? Like her vitamin D needs to be around 80. Does she have any GI problems? Like 80 to 90% of your immune system is in your gut. So this is research, dude. Like 80 to 90% of your immune system is in your gut. So does she have gas? Does she have bloating? Does she have diarrhea? Does she have any of those things?
Not at this time. She had some diarrhea in the past and soft stool. She was also diagnosed with EV virus, Epstein virus, and she also has been bloated all the time and inflammation.
Yeah. So, something like a case like, obviously she has a complex case. She has multiple autoimmune diseases. Something like a case like that, you have to go in there. You have to do an evaluation. You have to do some labs. You have to talk to the person. You have to see, what organ systems aren't working properly, and then you have to take an autoimmune disease approach. What would that be? Like, I don't know exactly. I mean, I can give you some general things what it would look like, but you'd want to make sure, like these things are in the quote like sweet spot levels. Like, what's her fasting insulin? What's her homocysteine level? What's her magnesium level? What's her vitamin D level? Like these things need to be in a high functioning level, right? So that's going to give your body the best ability to start turning the cases around. And then the gut, then you got to work on the gut for sure. Make sure that the gut's well. Maybe she could use digestive enzymes. Maybe she needs hydrochloric acid. I don't know if she's done any elimination diets, if she's done paleo or autoimmune paleo, but these are the things where you need to kind of start to eliminate some food sensitivities. Because if you're eating, let's say, gluten, is she eating gluten?
No, she actually has cut down the gluten down to almost non-existent.
Okay, so non-existent, like she eats gluten once a day, or?
No, it's like maybe once a week, if.
Okay. Okay, so someone when you have Hashimoto's disease, you have to, I mean, you go strictly. So then there's degrees of like this is what this person was asking me about the do I do like blood type testing like or diets like, and this is where you try a protocol for 4 weeks and see what happens, right?
Okay.
So okay, maybe she needs to go gluten free, 100% gluten free, and then on top that she needs to go dairy free as well. Right. Or nightshades. Right. So these are the things that like if you're sensitive to nightshades and you eat nightshades, when I say sensitive, this is causing global inflammation. So if you're eating nightshades every day, tomatoes or whatever, and you're sensitive to that, meaning sensitive, that's causing inflammation, that's going to cause your immune system to start to attack itself further.
Okay. All right.
So this is where you kind of have to go through an onion layer, like layers on an peel the onion away, the different layers, and get down to the core.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
I see.
Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I have another thought, if you could comment on it, because from what I understand in some of the international information that I've looked at, and from what I understand from what you're saying, and please correct me if I misunderstand this, is that basically they're tying in the long COVID with those that get the COVID and it awakens these dormant viruses, which is what happened to me. And I was diagnosed with 4 autoimmune viruses. And so then it boils down to, because some of them they're not going to go away, but you want to keep them manageable and controlled. And that's what, with functional medicine, that's what you will do with people. You help them manage that by, like you were mentioning, diet or process of elimination. Am I correct in what I'm saying, or am I kind of off track with that?
My viewpoint would be a little bit different. So yeah, I think you're correct, but my viewpoint would be that what's happened is your immune system has gotten run down. Like everyone has Epstein-Barr virus, right? I mean, if you do the testing on it, like 90% of the population has Epstein-Barr virus, but not every person is affected by Epstein-Barr, right? So what happens is when you have these things, your immune system gets driven down. And when your immune system is weak, that's when Epstein-Barr virus comes to the forefront. This is when long COVID comes to the forefront. This is when Lyme will come to the forefront, is like when your immune system is so run down. So like I never go and chase Lyme. Like that's not I know there's people that go, doctors that go and chase Lyme, and I'm sure they've helped people. But my approach is, okay, you have Lyme, but people get Lyme and don't have any problems from Lyme. So why do you have Lyme and you have a problem? Well, because your immune system is so weakened. So then my approach is, well, what can we do to restore? You're welcome, Holly. What can we do to restore your immune system so that it can manage the Epstein-Barr virus? It can manage the mycoplasma or whatever virus it is that's now causing hindrance.
Okay, so that totally makes sense. So is that where the red light therapy or that what the blue product you mentioned? I'm sorry, I'm totally not familiar. Yeah, familiar with that.
That's one solution, right? I mean, that's not necessarily
a universal solution.
You see, this is the thing. Like these are solutions. The universal solution is everyone's got to have good glucose levels. Now, I don't use methylene blue on everybody, but I do know that the people that have had long COVID that I've used it on have gotten better. Right. So this is where, like, when these individual cases come in, and if people are on this webinar, they're not simple cases. No one comes to me that has a simple case. So these are more complex that require more clinical thought process to give a very specific recommendation based on, the conversations and the labs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm glad to know about you, because sometimes I get referrals of people to me that are very complex, and it's like it gets into, they're on a dozen pharmaceuticals, and it's like,
those are the worst. Yeah,
I just don't delve there with them.
Yeah, when people come to me on 12 pharmaceuticals, I don't even take those clients.
Yeah, because
They're
there's
they're
too much.
so wrapped up in the medical system that it's
Yeah, chemical medication. Yeah.
it's a chemical
So
mess. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm more an herbalist, so I kind of lean that way. I mean, I don't cancel out the other one because, with my husband and his line of work, we're on kind of on both sides of the fence with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I
Right.
appreciate you explaining that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'll stay for 5 more minutes if anyone has any other questions.
Oh, I
You can
do
type them
have
in.
another quick question. So I'm assuming like the stress level, because some people are under high stress, and that can also cause a lot of this to surface, correct?
Correct. For sure.
Okay. Yeah, I thought
Poor
so.
sleep.
Okay, poor sleep, poor diet, lack of exercise.
Yeah.
So the method you were showing, that the passive exercise, does that really help people a whole lot,
Oh, yeah.
that
It's a game
to
changer.
transition before they can get into more active exercises, or do you keep them on
Correct.
that?
Yeah. Again, that's like, like I've had people that are in wheelchairs. Well, they got to do that forever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. I mean, because they just aren't, their legs aren't moving. They're not getting any lymph flow, blood flow down there.
Right. And then, as with your chiropractic background, then what do you recommend? Like I have a chiropractor, and I do see him usually on a weekly or every other weekly basis.
Right. Yeah.
Um, just because my Zyto system will show if something's out of balance, and it gets into the whole TCM, Chinese medicine, blah blah blah. But so what do you recommend? Do you refer people to try to seek that modality, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, exercise modality, or I'm not sure what you're.
No, chiropractic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If I think people need chiropractic, yeah, I'll tell. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is very good to know. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
That's
thank
for sure.
you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
We would probably have fun talking a lot more
For sure.
because there's
For sure.
probably many things we would have fun chattering about, because I train internationally with people all over the world, and it's amazing the different things you learn,
Yeah, that's for sure.
what they're doing in other
You just
countries.
have to have a willingness to be open.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And my husband, I call him he's like the Mayo Clinic, you know, type guy, and it's like that's where his research comes from. So
Okay.
he he teases me. He calls it he says, "You and your voodoo medicine." That's what he calls it.
Right.
It's
Right.
just a joke. It's just a
Right.
joke. It's
Right.
not really true, but just our way of joking. But thank you very much again for sharing.
You're
Sharing
welcome.
is caring, right?
For sure. No doubt about that.
Mhm. And if people want to delve into your, just to reaffirm the offer that you have, so they have to go to the website to get that, correct?
Yep. That's where you sign up. Yep.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Just see if any other questions are coming in.